start breaking down what's going on in the market today. What's going on, guys? We'll get started in just a second. Thanks for you guys for tuning in. We're gonna break down some of the stuff that's going on in the market and what to look for, really. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to go over everything and show you guys like my strategy and what I'm looking at for today. Yeah, I'm gonna start off pull up SPY. Let's start with that first. Starting our daily time frame. Alright, guys, so if we take a look at this chart, basically, I'm gonna line it up for you guys so you can see it better. If you're in the live last time, if you're in the live last time, you know we kind of talked about how what was this, like last time we left off on this 2-1-2 setup. So we basically had this directional move, and we had this consolidation on Thursday. And then Friday we ended up having a directional move, but it didn't really move too far. And so what I was looking at for Monday, we're trying to see if we're gonna continue to consolidate or go ahead and like move forward to start to invalidate some of this bearish setup. If you see like these red gaps, these are bearish fair value gaps, and this is just an area that price can typically retreat to before moving back down in a bearish manner. So what we need to see to for things to start looking somewhat bullish again, you already can see we're kind of entering back in through this channel, which is a positive sign, but we want to see it break above this bearish fair value gap, like completely invalidate that. And we also see that it's invalidating this bearish setup with this 9-20 EMA crossover. So these are positive signs. Overall, the market's still somewhat weak. We're definitely not out of the woods. So what we're going to be looking for is just like signs that we're either going to continue to try to fight to get back in this channel, or we're going to start to break back down below, which that's both of these scenarios are pretty much possible. We still have like a lot of uncertainty with the economy and what's going on with the trade deals. So the market definitely, they like security. They like to know that things are going to pan out the way we want them to. So that's why we have all this uncertainty going on and everything with Trump, tariffs, and all that stuff like that. So I'm gonna go down to a 4-hour time frame. This is usually what I look at before I take a trade. This is like on a typical day I would look at. Let's see, show on regular time. So here we ended off. This is Monday at 9:30. We had a direction move up, but then we kind of retreated, and we have this one candle. I'll make it bigger for you guys so you can see. So when you go to a 1 like that, this is just consolidation, and you see that it looks somewhat bearish. Like we had this wick off, this large wick off to where we wicked off the price, and started to retreat some. That's somewhat of a bearish sentiment, and you can kind of see once we touch that bearish fair value gap, that's what occurred. But we finished with an inside day. It still maintained support around like 536. So what we'll be looking for today is usually when you have a 2-1 setup, usually a 2 follows after. And when you do that, that's the direction of move. This could be up or down. And so you'll be looking for a break above this one, like the one's previous highs, which is 543.57. So if you break above 543.57, that's a trigger for calls or for you to go long, at least on this 4-hour time frame. I like using the 4-hour time frame because it kind of provides a trend. It provides a trend for like typically for that first half of the day. And if we're looking for puts, it will be a break below this one candle. So that'll be a break below 536.49. And I'm gonna go ahead and set an alert just so I can know. So below 536.49, you'll more likely see us come down to, there's a very small bullish fair value gap right here, which also happens to line up with the 20 EMA, which is another like area support. So this is around 533, around 533, 534. This is like an area support, and you kind of see that we also whipped off this support area before in this previous candle on Monday. So that'll be something to check for. Once we start to see a real breakdown, we'll come down to this next level, which is around 530, which also is a good like psychological level. Then we'll start to break down below that, and then we'll get to a point where we're testing this trend line again, which is really just this 530 level. And that below that, we can quickly start moving to the downside, and we don't really have any strong support areas until about about 522, around 522, and that's where we get around to the bullish fair value gap. The thing is, the reason I use this strat is that we try to basically take all the emotion out of the situation. We don't want to just like try to trade off a hope here. We want to just have simple setups. And so that's what we do with this. We know the candle types, which is like I was saying, a 2 is you're moving in a direction that could be up or down. This is a 2 up. And then you have a 1, which is just consolidation. It's just moving sideways. This means it didn't break out of a high or a low of the previous candle. And so now if we end up with another 2 pattern, that's just a directional move. And then there's also a 3 candle. A 3 is just when you break below. I'll show you an example of a 3. A 3 is this purple candle right here. It's basically if you break below a high and the low of the previous candle, that shows you like a sign of a reversal or say an outside day. A lot of times, it just kind of does what it wants to do. And this is what I'm looking at with SPY. I'm not really too concerned with this one right now, just because we've seen kind of like a little slow movement, and I think it's also because we have a short week. We have Good Friday, and the market's going to be closed except for futures. One that I'm really looking at though is Bitcoin and some of the crypto plays. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to this, but Bitcoin actually has been holding up pretty well during this whole like kind of craziness that's been going on in the market. And I think people are starting to see it as a store of value in the long term. So if we go out here on this daily, here we go. Stuff I kind of set up before. You see, Bitcoin typically has a bullish setup. It will enter these bearish fair value gaps areas. Excuse me. But you see it's breaking above. But it still seems like it's struggling at like this 86,000 level. So when I'm checking for Bitcoin for today, I need to see it get above 86,000. Like that's pretty critical for it to head towards 90,000 and above. It needs to get above 86,000, or we're gonna see it break back down. And you'll easily see it get down to a 84 and back to 83 and probably 80 before anything else. If it gets down below here, we'll start breaking back below inside of this trend line, and it'll be continuing to the downside. But right now, Bitcoin is having having a small breakout, but we need to see it get above 86,000 to target 88 and 90,000. So that's what I'll be checking for with Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is very expensive to trade, so that's why you can easily trade one of the other crypto plays. They basically move like lockstep with it. So other crypto plays we playing is like MSTR, which is it was MicroStrategy. It's pretty expensive itself, but I'm gonna show you some other ones that are pretty cheap as well. So MicroStrategy, you kind of see I kind of marked out where they're in this certain trend channel as well, and they start to break above. And as you can see, they're also in this breakout session, but into this bearish fair value gap. And for them, a big move will be, once we get above like this 318, really like 320 is really like the big psychological level for this. So for MSTR, I like to see a move above 320, and then we can start targeting some of these other highs, which would be like around 330, 333, 340. And that's really where I'm ultimately trying to see it go, at least on the short term. I'm gonna go down to the 4-hour time frame. We come down here in the 4-hour time frame. We basically had a direction move. We had a 2, now we're at a 1. So this is setting up for a larger move to occur. I was in some calls earlier yesterday, but I ended up getting out just because I saw that we were still rejecting at this 86K level for Bitcoin. So whatever Bitcoin is gonna do is what MSTR is gonna do. That's basically what's gonna happen. A lot of times, Bitcoin's movements shows first, and it's typically ahead by like a minute or so as far as what MSTR is gonna do as far as price wise. So this is definitely what you want to check for. So definitely check out whatever Bitcoin is doing and that sentiment for that. That's what you need to check for MSTR. So right now for MSTR, I want to see a break above here. What is like 314, 314.21 for me to go long on this. I'm just setting alert. That's when I'll start scaling into my position, but I really won't go long like heavily on MSTR until I see that 320 level. That's pretty much gonna line up with that 86K on Bitcoin. And then also if we're gonna play it to the downside, we'll look at that's 308.82. Sorry, I'm kind of far away. Oh, 305.82. So below that, that's when I'll start looking at. I start looking at puts or going short on this position. Let me see, line that up. And if we start heading to the downside, it has support around this 304, 305 level, and that's when we'll get down to 300. But it has these bullish fair value gaps right below it. You pretty much can see that it has this support, and I don't see it really dropping down too far unless Bitcoin starts to make a very bearish move. This is what I'm looking at with MSTR. Another one, like I was saying, a cheaper option to go with for their contracts. I trade options, so MSTR, you're at least going to be spending at least a couple, $1,000 to $2,000, $3,000 for a contract. And for me, I like the way they move, but they can be super volatile. And so for me, risk management in this type of market, I try to avoid leveraging that much money just right then on a short-term trade, just because Trump could say something or somebody could say something and it turns around within an instant. We're not seeing as much of a trend that's hold as much as we usually would do. So here is coin. It's pretty much a similar setup. I didn't fully mark it out yet, but you can kind of see. Move it over. I'm gonna turn off the fair value gaps for a second so you guys can get a better picture. But you can see you clearly see we're in this downtrend, right? I'm gonna draw a trend line just so you guys kind of visualize it. And when you're drawing your charts and stuff like that, you don't have to be perfect. I just like to get an idea. It's really just for you so you can see what's going on. And you don't have to like match up perfectly for everything. It's all for you. You can visualize this in your head. This is great. So you see, we've been in this downtrend, and now we're starting to break out a little bit, but it's following the same sentiment. Like it's a 2-1 setup, which basically is we basically moved and now we're consolidating. Now we're looking for a move today if the market decides, basically. And so this one is a lot cheaper than MSTR. Hold on a second, guys. One second. Alright, so I just had to fix something real quick. But yeah, so it's pretty much the same setup for coin. What I'll be looking for, I'll look at the 4-hour time frame, and that'll either be for calls, for me enter calls, or to go long on this. I'll look for a break above 178.62. So I'll look for that, and then for puts, what I'll look for is a break below 174.17. That's when I'll start looking at entering puts. And for this one, if I start looking at puts and then below that 174.17, my next target for that will be, first target will be 172, and then 170. That's where we're showing that we're having some support at. And basically how I found my targets is when we break below like this candle right here. Let's see you guys. When we break below the previous low, we target the next low, which is this previous candle right here. And so it pretty much makes it easy as far as like what your targets are. So everything's pretty clear. You don't have to do a guessing game about where to get in and get out at. And same thing for the high side. So if we get to this high side, we break above this 178.62. Then we'll start to target this next high, which is this previous candle's high right here, and that'll be around 182.33. Also, we'll just mark 180 because you can see we whipped up here, but like this body kind of showed that there was some resistance around that area. So I will mark out 180 as well. So I will target 180, then 182, and then all the way up here to our next high, which is around 184. And those are 3 different price targets right there. You can target to the upside. That's if Bitcoin is bullish. Let's see. Another one. You guys can let me know if there are any certain stocks you want me to go over or check out. I'll be happy to do that for you guys. Here, I'm gonna look at. Let's see. So last couple of days, Chinese stocks have been going kind of crazy as well. I'm sure you guys one I was looking at before. It's called Futu. With them though, they started off strong yesterday, but then they kind of started to pull back. You see, they kind of got up to this area. Ticker is FUTU. Yeah, I'm gonna type it up here, guys. Sorry about that. Here you go. I'm gonna type it up here so you guys can see it. Futu is FUTU. Someone said, "What are we betting on?" Oh, I didn't put on my bets yet. I also have that in my Discord as well. It's free, guys. I go over a lot of free content, drop a lot of free content with bets and with trading. But yeah, we're on FUTU, and this basically started to move up just because China basically identified that they're gonna start. They're basically gonna be pumping their market a little bit. They're gonna incentivize Chinese companies to start manufacturing more. This is all a part of like the whole trade war, and they've always wanted their to kind of show more strength versus America. So that's pretty much how that's lining up. It's like we're getting ready to open up in a minute. Here, so open up less than a minute. I'm about to go ahead and check out. Let's see. Go back to where we were at. Sorry about that. But yeah, with Futu, you see we started to break up and try to have this like reversal situation going on where we rejected in this bearish fair value gap area. So now we've been finished up with the inside day, but now today the market just opened up. We're gonna see if it's gonna break down further and kind of we're gonna target here. What is that low? Around 81, or we're gonna still try to fight to get up here around 90. If we break above 90, I'll start to look for Futu to finish up in this fair value gap all the way up to around 96. 96. Yeah. So I want to definitely see it break above 90 for if it's going to hold some strength, have some strength. Just so you guys know, I don't trade these first few minutes. Like the first 15 minutes, I just let the thing kind of play out. Let the market settle down, do whatever it's gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and check out SPY. Let me know if there's any tickers you want me to go over, check out. We just got alert. So we got alert on MSTR. That is moving up. Which means that Bitcoin is probably moving, so let me check out the price of Bitcoin right now. So Bitcoin's around 85, around 85,780 right now. Like I was saying, I really want to see Bitcoin above 86, right above 86,000 before I take a trade on anything with that. Here, let's go into the 4-hour time frame. So in the 4-hour, we're still inside, and so I was saying for calls on SPY, which is the S&P 500, I want to see it above 542.57. If we see a move above that, then we can start targeting the next high around 544, 545. So yeah, I'm waiting for the first 15 minutes to finish up. So typically what I do, I like to see the first 15 minutes finish up before I make a move, and I'll mark out that high and that low. Once I do that, that's when I go ahead and basically when I start to see a break above that 15-minute high or that low, that's when I start to scale a little bit into my position. Especially if I start to see it break above or below that 4-hour time frame, like that 4-hour candle, that's really when I start to scale in. I focus on scaling in like at the right pace. This is basically another reason for like risk management. You don't want to like just jump in too fast. You want to like kind of like let things play out and then you profit along the way. So yeah, we're not really having too much movement yet. Yeah, I'm gonna check to see if any other news came out right now. It looks like Bitcoin is approaching. We're about to approach this 85,900 level. I don't know if you guys saw, but Trump has said that He was talking good about Nvidia. Right before I open. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Nvidia's already triggered calls on the 4 hour time frame. Excuse me. I'm still gonna wait for a couple minutes just to see. You see, we're starting to kind of wick off this area around 112. Oh yeah, so Trump was saying that all necessary permits will be expedited for Nvidia. So Nvidia, if you don't know who they're a large chip manufacturer. They basically kind of ruling this whole AI move right now. And so with that, we use chips for everything, and especially for like as AI rolls out, all this other technology begins to move. We need more of these chips to basically help with like the processing power and basically for these things to continue to scale. So Nvidia, they are the leader in that space right now as far as chip makers and for its processing power. So them getting the permits to kind of move how they need to move, that allows them to not be under the same restrictions really as like the tariffs. That's probably why they're bullish right now. But I'm gonna see how this plays out. Let's see if they're kind of like pulled back in a little bit just off of this bearish fair value gap. They're still looking bullish, but I'm just let it play out the first few minutes. Oh yeah, someone said Discord is fire. Thank you. Yeah, definitely jump into the Discord. Look inside my link is in the bio. You gotta click the link to my YouTube actually. TikTok won't let me directly link it. And then you'll see my Discord information there. I got something a little bit for everything for everybody in there. A little bit of everything for people in there. That's if you're interested in bets or just trading or becoming like a smarter trader essentially. I'm kind of bouncing around, check out a couple things. I see that Netflix is moving. See what they got going on. Wow, Netflix like it just yapped up. Let me go check that out. I go live several times a week, so definitely tap in, definitely subscribe, follow me. I go live, I'll answer any questions. Pretty transparent. At least I think so. So yeah, on Netflix we just completely gapped up. I wonder if they had any news or something that was going on. So we're around like 9:56, and they're entering past like this bearish fair value gap. I'm gonna go ahead and just mark this out, this low for right now. Just so I have it on alert. If we start to break down here. If Netflix starts to break down, you see this gap. Not all gaps fill, but around 80% of them do. So I would start to look for like this gap to fill if they do break down. Well, if they continue to the upside, which I'm gonna mark out this around like 960 that they have like some resistance at. I'm marking at 959 just so I know. This continue to move, but if they start to continue to the upside, then I'll start looking at entering calls. Yeah, Netflix really need to see it move above 960 to head towards like 970, and then eventually up to it was like 980. They kind of move like in $10 increments. It was looking pretty strong though. Yeah, I'm looking at the volume. They're just kind of picking up some steam. They just dropped that. Canada's decided to provide temporary 6-month relief from counter tariffs from basically goods coming from the U.S. They're using manufacturing, processing, and food. So this is all part of the whole tariff situation. They're all trying to make a deal. Seems like. Oh yeah, we're getting above 960 pretty good. I like Netflix. Let's see, I'm looking at some of the options for Netflix right now. Yeah, they are moving. Yeah, Netflix is pretty expensive, but if you can, I would like the 960 calls on Netflix for the weekly. I like the 965. They're pretty expensive though. You keep looking around, see what else I like. If I get into Netflix, I definitely just go kind of like. It looks like the market is just really trying to rally today. Bitcoin like is getting ready to test that 86K. It's like 85,935. Let me see what MSTR is at. Oh yeah, it already jumped up to like 315. It's just kind of wicking off right now. It went up to 317. In about 3 minutes, we're gonna have that first 15-minute candle close. Another one that's moving is probably a little bit cheaper. Does the strat method work on all sectors? Yes, I do like using the strat method. It works on all sectors. I use it for everything. Yeah, the strat can be used on all sectors. It basically just identifies. You're really just focusing on price action. Of course, I like to also just consider like fundamentals or just of course the news that goes into it, but you're really focusing on price action and what you see. You don't move off of just hope and that you think everything's gonna just so you know, hope and wish that's gonna move that way. Okay, Bitcoin just hit 86K. That's good. We're like 943. Yeah, I'm getting ready to start looking at. I'm looking at some calls on MSTR. I like the calls that's between 320 and 340 on MSTR. This is better look on a 4-hour time frame. We're getting ready to approach that 320 level. I feel like we're already at 317. I know some people feel like you miss the move a little bit when you like wait these first 15 minutes, but you also avoid a lot of fake outs. And the biggest thing about trading is avoiding, like it's not avoiding, but risk management. That is the biggest thing, because just like you can make a lot of big gains, you can lose a lot if you just jump right in and as soon as we open up. Because we could jump up, like you saw yesterday, we can jump up and be up a whole large percentage and then just fade off the rest of the day. So your biggest thing is risk management. We got about less than 1 minute, about 30 seconds till we close this 15-minute candle. This is MSTR. So yeah, we just finally finished that 15-minute candle. Now this new candle, it's still an inside, but you see it's kind of pulling back some. This is exactly what I was kind of talking about, just let it play out the first 15 minutes, and then see what it's gonna do. So if we break higher above this 317 mark, that's when I'll enter my calls for MSTR. But we're pulling back a little bit, but it's just going into this bullish fair value gap. So it's going to find some support probably around 315. Yeah. But we'll see. We just trade what we see. We don't just hope and wish and jump into stuff. We trade what we see. See, Bitcoin like is pulling back some. It's rejecting off the 86K level. The thing about this is like when a stock breaks or breaks down, continuously rejects at a certain level, that's not a good sign. But when it continuously like builds up support at a certain level, that's like a bullish momentum thing. But it's still pretty early, so we'll just see how it plays out. Like I was saying with MSTR, I'm looking for a break of 317.64 for me to enter calls. Looks like it's about to trigger it in now. I can tell too, it's just like I said triggers, but also this yellow candle will turn green if it breaks above that. Like automatically do it. Alright, look, it triggered it. So I'll enter calls in here. I like the 320 or the 340 calls or the 330 calls for the weeklies. These are a little more risky on MSTR, but hey, that's what I'm going with. My stop loss will be the previous candle, so the previous trigger that was this high, whatever. So this basically minimizes my risk. Yeah, it's starting to move. And we're gonna see it test this 320 level. Pay attention to that. the 30-minute time frame. Yeah, let's see how it does on this 320 level. You see, we kind of whipped off this 320 level a little bit. That's okay. Here, I'm done on a 5-minute time frame. I got a trigger on spies, crossing 542.43. Yeah, SPY looking like it's want to break out as well. We're looking very bullish today. SPY looking very bullish. I'm going to look at probably 545 calls on SPY. Check out Futu now. I'm just looking around. The sticker is FUTU. Looks like it's getting ready to break down some. Like you already see my indicator already put a 222 bearish continuation in, was basically like it's showing that it's breaking down. It's like it's a directional move to the downside essentially. If it continues to break down, I can see it just going to 83, 82 around that level. But it is in a bullish fair value gap, so it can just it could come down to the support around 83 or 83, 80, and before it heads back up. And that's pretty much what it's doing. It's not really doing too much right now. It's just consolidating, like right above this bullish fair value gap right now. Go back to MSTR. Back around that 316, 317 level. You were saying it's still like finding some resistance right here around that 320, up at 320, but it has some time to play out. Alright guys, I'm about to get ready to probably log off for today. I'm gonna continue to post some more. It's gonna be all really in my Discord. If you want to tune in for more, definitely check out my Discord. Go to my profile, check that out, and I drop a lot of free content for that. So yeah, all right guys, you have a good morning. Happy trading. We'll be back probably tomorrow with it. So definitely subscribe, turn your notifications on, and tune back in. Okay, peace.